Boom. Hello, everybody. This is Jason Gardner from Radical Shift Coaching. And today, with Conversations with Jason, I've got an amazing guest, someone who I've known for a while. I've even played drums with her in the past. And I've been watching her journey online and seeing the progress and the overcoming of whatever barriers she had, because we all have barriers, but to see that manifest, see the beauty and the success manifest in her life in all areas has been just such a joy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleasured to introduce to you Lauren Bateman. Hi, Lauren.
Hey, Jason. How's it going?
Fantastic.
Good.
You could tell I'm a little excited here.
Yeah.
Because a few of my guests, I've spoken to them over the past few months, and I've known them. I'm starting this type of podcast with people I know first, what I call the low-hanging fruit, people that I know that I can contact with no problem. They already know, like, and trust me. And that's funny. I'll tell you the truth. So you're on my list. You're almost number one on my list. I had you on my list before the pandemic. We talked about it. And then what happened was I saw how successful you were getting, and I actually got scared, and I was afraid to message you. I had it written down on my daily things to do, and I avoided it every single day out of fear because I had an imposter syndrome that why would Lauren want to speak to me? Because she's killing it out there, and I guess I'm not, maybe, and why would she want to even waste time with me? But I finally conquered that fear, sent you a message, and of course, I knew that this all bullshit. And
yeah.
I was just a story
It
always is. Most of the time, it really is. And if it isn't, you got to be independent of the good opinion of others anyway. And if you really said to me, Jason, which would be amazing if you did, but Jason, screw off. First of all, who is that person? That's not Lauren. And if you did, then I'd be very grateful for that and say, okay. That's who Lauren is now. And I'm okay with that. I wish her the best. Mm-hmm. But the opposite happened. Yeah. So now you're sitting in front of me live, which is also really cool. We're seeing people live now in the pandemic, which is so great. Things are moving through. So, the basis of this podcast is really about how thoughts become reality, how people have an idea. Mm-hmm. And I'm always really curious about when that idea happened. But they have an idea to do something big. And then the journey from that idea to physical reality.
Yep.
So I'm really curious about that. So let's back up. I know we got a lot to talk about. Let's just start with that right now. The new incarnation, what you're doing now, let's just say you went from you went from live playing music and teaching guitar lessons. Then you went to online, building up on online social media, as well as giving guitar lessons online. Then you created a video course around guitar lessons, right? And then because you really became an expert quickly, you have an amazing intuition. We talked about this earlier off mic. You just have a way of marketing that's so natural that actually led to now you teaching people how to use YouTube to tell their stories and to market their lives or whatever it is, their passions, their dreams, and to really show up fully in social media. So let's back up to where you took a big turn from most people. And most people's story is, I'm a musician. It's hard to make a living. I don't know how to do it. No one's hiring anymore. I might as well go get a day job.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
Yeah, I think it's important to go one step back for even the people who don't know me. Is I actually used to work for a pharmaceutical company. So I made the decision of leaving a full-time position to go be a musician. So that was the first pivot in my life. And I think I was about 26 when that happened. I went on one of these boat cruises that was music, and I brought my guitar, and I just had so much fun. I said, I have to do something with music. And of course, there's that, musicians are poor, you don't make money. But I was just like, I'm going to figure out a way to make this work because music was just one of those things that I always enjoyed. So I don't have a degree in music. I don't have a degree in education. It's biology and archaeology. Those are my two degrees that I have. Right. So I made the decision to quit my job at 27. Great benefits, good money for someone who's, 26, 27 years old. And decided that, hey, I'm going to go all in on this music thing. But like you said, okay, you got to make money. So what do? I'm performing. And, when you're an original performer, you don't make a lot of money playing in bars, playing your own
It's one of the hardest gigs out of any gig is being a singer-songwriter. It's a really hard gig.
So I decided, I'm going I'm going to try teaching. And I didn't even teach guitar at first because I had never taken really any lessons in guitar. I took a few. I was mostly self-taught in guitar. So I started by teaching voice because at least I gotten formal training in voice. So I felt much more comfortable with that. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I brought a guitar into the room and I said, can you just humor me for like 1 minute? It was like Ode to Joy. I said, can I teach you how to play this song? And she said, sure. So I'm showing her how to play Ode to Joy. And I think she played 2 notes and I ripped the guitar out of her hand. I was like, thank you so much. I'm all set. And she was just like, what the hell just happened? and I went next door and I like added, I had a website like for voice lessons and I'm like added guitar lessons. I was like, listen, I might not be confident as like, I'm no Eddie Van Halen. I'm still not an Eddie Van Halen or, that's just not who I am. I said, but I can help people. And it's one of those things where you're saying like thought, you start with a thought and then believing that it's actually possible. Mm-hmm. So by remembering that even though I didn't go to school for music and that I had never really been formally taught in guitar, that I had a lot of knowledge and skills that I could teach people, especially someone who had never touched a guitar before.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I got started.
I want to draw this out though for a second because you had the imposter syndrome, of course. You were like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But
who am I?
And that's ego.
Yeah.
Ego, right? Me, right? Who am I? What about, but what you did naturally was you went into service.
Yeah.
You said, I can help others. When we say that, we cannot be in ego at the same time.
Right.
When we're in service to others, we cannot be in ego. And that flipped that for you really quickly.
Yeah.
Just that idea that, I can help people.
Well, I can help somebody. I might not be able to help everybody.
Right.
And even too, and if you're ever on my YouTube channel, I get a lot of flack from, people on YouTube like you make things too easy, and it's like, well, that's what help. My goal is to help make guitar accessible to people who felt like it was never possible. So that's what I was going to be. I was like, you know what? I am not the Yngwie Malmsteen or, I'm just, that's not me. Mm-hmm. But I am the person who will help you have fun. You want to be a kumbaya singer, songwriter, play guitar by the campfire person. That's what I'm going to help you do. So I kind of discovered that that's who I was, and I kind of owned that. And I could believe in that because I was like, okay, I'm doing something that's true to me. It's stuff that I'm able to do. I mean, I'm a performer. I've recorded albums. Like, I have credibility. Mm-hmm. I just don't have the degree, which no one really cared about anyway. And like you said, I focused on the service of helping others in the best way that I possibly could.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's where I started. I started in just like a spare bedroom, teaching out of my home. And
you made that commitment, by the way, just to draw this out.
Yeah.
You went to the website and you actually put it out there. You actually wrote it down.
Yeah, I owned it.
You owned it. You said, all right, I'm just going to put this out and see what happens.
Yeah.
Not worry about the how and the when, but just start.
Yeah.
And
well, even when I was teaching voice, when I first started, because I took piano lessons when I was a kid, but I wasn't the greatest piano player. I had to learn all the scales by ear on, when you do voice and all your warm-ups. Mm-hmm. So I had to teach myself how to play all these scales that my voice teacher had been playing for years in my lessons. And I would actually make mistakes in my early lessons. If I had any of those recordings, I would mess up the scale like all the time. And my wife would be next door here and be like, oh, she just messed up. And she's like, but you just kept going. You just kept going. And eventually, the muscle memory kicks in and I can play those scales with my eyes closed today. Mm-hmm. But I didn't let that trip me up. I was like, no, this is what I can do, and I'm just going to be the best person I can be for the people I'm helping.
The word that comes to mind is grace.
Yeah.
Just to have grace with uncertainty, is just because life is uncertain and, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
How graceful can we be?
Well, it's not about perfection. I was at I went away last weekend to, a leadership training thing, and they were talking about how, it's about working towards excellence or striving for excellence. No one's ever perfect because we can always improve. Nobody's perfect. And I think that's one of those things, I could have left my job and been like, I'm not going to leave until like I know all my scales perfectly and I have a routine and I have a structure, and I'm very happy that I'm the kind of person who does not need perfection. If you've ever read my posts on Facebook, I'm horrible with autocorrect and typos and that's just not me.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy that I don't have that block, but I know there's a lot of people out there that have that block, that if everything is not set up perfectly, you don't get started.
Yeah.
And if the pandemic has shown us anything, nothing's perfect. You could plan to the T, but nobody planned for COVID.
Yeah.
No one.
And it really hit the entertainment industry. I mean, hard.
Yeah.
Hard. And that's when I started to hear. It started to separate the people from the growth mindset people versus the people who are fixed. Because a lot of my peers were like pivoting quickly and were like, "This is great."
Yeah.
And then I had other peers who said, "I can't work. I can't do any more gigs. I can't."
Right.
You know what I mean? No one's going to hire me virtually. Da da da. And I'm thinking, but I have a friend who's making 6 figures off this thing right now.
Right.
And like, what are you talking about? But so let's move on with that. So tell me next. Well, so the guitar lessons. Let's flash forward, I guess. Well, that was in person first.
That was in person first, yeah. So I started just kind of one-on-one out of my home, and then eventually opened up a brick and mortar location, and own multiple music schools all before COVID happened, and that's it. COVID hit, and it's oh crap. What are we going to do now?
Yeah,
it's either, okay, we lay down, and because nobody had any clue what was going to happen. And when you're a brick and mortar business, particularly a service-based business where people come to you, we had to pivot. We had to get all of our students online. But again, we didn't know how long this is. Are we going to be online for 2 years? Are we going to be are we going to be able to sustain this online? So I had to transition kind of a brick and mortar business to an online business.
Yeah.
But before we had done that, I had already kind of started building this online guitar thing on YouTube a few years prior. Again, not knowing that this was what's going to eventually happen and pivot. But I did. I had that conversation. My wife and I sat down when we officially had to shut everything down and we couldn't be open. And we had that conversation, and she's a nurse. So, she was in the thick of it all here in Boston. And, I just said, listen, I don't know what's going to happen because we have real estate properties too. And I said, we could literally lose everything. I said, I'm just preparing for the worst, which could be we lose the business, we lose our real estate because people can't pay the and I said, I'm banking on that we're going to be living off of your income because you're a nurse, so you're gonna be employed for the next however long. And we had that really real conversation that this is the worst case scenario. We could lose everything, and I said, but I'm not worried because I know I can build it again if that ever happened. And what happened was we ended up, pivoting the brick and mortar schools to doing online Zoom lessons. And I really dove into the online guitar lessons, my work with YouTube, my website, my courses, and that took off because of everything that was happening. And it made me, I was kind of doing it part-time, in my spare time of when I wanted to do it. But when I saw the numbers going up, I said, holy crap, this is going to save us. This is going to keep us going. And I just dove headfirst into that.
So I'm really curious because I think what stops people from doing any of that is the tech.
Yeah.
Is the tech. They don't have the tech. And nowadays, I mean, maybe 20 years ago or 15 even, but nowadays, I mean, forget about it. 4K and the mics are great. Everything. I mean, you really can't. So I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because obviously that didn't stop you. What you didn't know didn't stop you.
Yeah.
So how did you actually? What was the tech like when you started doing online teaching?
Yeah.
What were you using?
So I was using my phone.
Yeah,
literally.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean, that was it.
I want people to know this.
I mean,
you got to get in front of things, people. You got to get in front of it, and you got to make it happen. It's not a how-to problem; it's a want-to problem.
Exactly.
So Lauren wanted to, so she said, "How am I going to do it?" After she committed to wanting it, she just asked herself, "Well, how?"
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I said, I'm not the perfectionist. I'm very blessed to not be that perfectionist, but I said, okay, what am I going to do? So I'm like, all right, I'll get a tripod for my phone. I don't even think I had a lapel mic in the beginning. I was just using the speaker in my phone.
Yeah,
I didn't
mic.
have light. Right now I have the nice Canon. I have a lapel mic. I have
sure.
nice
You got
lighting.
it all going on.
I got it all going on. But it's interesting because one of those first videos that I ever recorded, it's really crappy. It's like the room is really, I did it at the studio and the room is really dark and it's grainy and I'm saying 500 times because I'm part of doing online is just getting used to being on camera.
Yeah. It's just the thing. It's just a muscle. It's just
people don't understand. Yeah. Like when you hit record, it's like all of a sudden your brain's like, oh crap, like this is happening, and you can seem. You can sound stupid sometimes because sometimes you'll ramble. You don't know what you're doing. Now I have like a formula, but that one of those first videos actually got listed by Google and YouTube, and it started spreading the reach of my channel and my brand, and this video took off. Now, it's one of the crappiest videos. Right. Like I said, it's dark, it's grainy.
It's like a bittersweet, isn't it? I mean,
But it didn't, but I always hone this in with people, and when I do my YouTube course, this is one of the things I talk about with people. Like, it didn't matter to the people who were watching the video.
Exactly.
It was the content was still good. The quality was horrible. The quality, I mean, it wasn't the worst, but it could have been way better than what it was.
Yeah.
And the bottom line, like you said, is I just did it. It didn't matter that I didn't have the lighting, that I didn't have the right camera. I just needed to get something done.
Listen, if people think that content creation just started with the digital world, I mean, it's been going on for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
But just people roll with the tech that they have.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, think about the early photographers. I mean, they barely had any of this, basically shadows, but they just did it.
I mean, and for the editing stuff, I had used iMovie before, but I mean, I had a PC at home and I just bought a crappy editing software, and I went on YouTube and was like, how do I use this crappy editing software?
Really?
And I edited all that stuff in the beginning. And again, it was time consuming. It was horrible, but I did it because I knew I had to, because that's how I was going to get to my end game.
Right. So that's an interesting thing. So having an end game is really important. Mm-hmm. Even though the end game can change.
Yes.
And it's okay. But having a GPS location, having a place that you're headed towards, because as we know, this way we're going to course correct. Even if we know where we're going, even if we get off course, we're going to find a way to bring ourselves back into where we want to go. Mm-hmm. It's just, if we stay conscious and aware.
Right.
So, what was my question for that?
End games.
End games. So what was the end game at that point?
Yeah. So when I started, the end game for me was I had these brick and mortar businesses, and I wasn't teaching anymore because I was more on the managerial side. It just, when you've got multiple brick and mortar businesses that you're running, you don't have time to be in the business teaching. And I think that's an important lesson for anyone that's an entrepreneur, even if they're starting a business, is relying on good people. You can't do everything yourself. Yep. So it got to the point where I was really hands off with the business. I was mostly managing from the big picture, the top end. I wasn't teaching anymore. But I really loved the aspect of teaching. And I said, you know what? I want to be able to teach people, but I want to be able to help people that maybe don't live in the Boston area. I want to help people all around the world learn to play guitar.
There you go.
And obviously, because of my background and being self-taught myself, I have a very different perspective on teaching and learning guitar, and not to say that I'm the only one with this perspective, but, there's a lot of teachers out there who are very stuck on the music theory. They're very stuck on like the university model of teaching guitar, which can be a turnoff for a lot of people because not everyone wants to be a professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some people just, like I said, some people just want to sing Kumbaya around the campfire.
Yeah, but have fun.
But for some people, that's not their student. They don't want to teach that student. They want to get like technical. And I tried not to get as little technicality as possible and make it fun for people. So I said, I have to spread this. And, I was working with a coach at the time, and I had just got out of another mentoring relationship that was not very good. It was actually a very negative space. We actually weren't allowed to be in the online space. And I'm like, man, I know I got to get online because I know that's where the world is going. Yeah. I know that's where the world is going. And like you were saying, it's that moment where you're like, I can be so much bigger. I can have a bigger impact on what I'm doing worldwide. And I said, how do I do that? I got to get online. I got to go on YouTube, and I just got to start teaching. And didn't have in the beginning an exact end game for monetarily what that was going to look like. I just knew that I had a vision and a purpose to say, I need to put out videos, and I'm going to help people who don't have access to good guitar teachers, whether it be India, whether it be New Zealand, whether it be, Alabama, somewhere in the U.S., Canada, wherever. I just wanted people who maybe didn't have a good guitar teacher or had a bad experience with a guitar teacher be able to connect with someone that they found relatable.
Yeah.
And maybe shared a similar story to them.
I'm curious, do you have a mission statement around this? Do you have anything like that?
I know.
Have you?
I'm not a big person. I mean, for me, the biggest mission with music for me in general is that I want to help people experience the joy and happiness of music in their own unique way.
There it is.
That's my mission.
That's
you know,
beautiful.
it's not what music means to me.
Yeah.
You know, because again, I have students who have, you know, I work with a lot of students in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. They've got nerve damage. They're missing fingers. They have arthritis. They need to do modifications for their playing.
Yeah.
I tend to work with the students that other teachers get frustrated
So
working
good.
with because
I
it doesn't
love it.
come easy to them.
Yeah.
And I love those students
Right.
because they're like, I can't do it this way. And I'm like, that's okay. Try it a different way. Find what works for you. And they're like, that's okay. And it's like, yes, that's okay. If it works
Yeah.
for you, you do it.
It's really nice. I mean, it's really a nice combination of guitar lessons and coaching.
Yeah.
You know, personal development coaching, really overcoming fears
Yeah.
and doubts. But okay. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I space out a lot.
Also, talking about missions and stuff, but this was something that kind of developed over time because, like you say, things can change, things move.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize that I actually work with a lot of veterans, a lot of Vietnam vets. I didn't realize how much the music was going to help them. I have so many people who reach out and like, you know, thank you so much. This has helped me so much with my PTSD. And
Yeah.
I was just like, wow, like those, you know, you have a mission and a vision when you start a company or when you start doing something, what it's going to be, and then what it actually becomes and how it actually does help people. I never even considered that. I mean,
Yeah.
I knew music helped, you know,
Right. We
veterans.
know that
and
it
you're like,
heals.
we know
that.
But when you get the emails from people,
Yeah.
I mean, I got emails from people being like, I was ready to give up and like call it
die.
a day on
Yep.
life.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you
Save
helped
them.
me. You helped me get over that, or you helped me get over the death of my mother, or my
Yeah.
wife that I've lived with for 50 years. I mean, you get emails like that all the time, and people are like, "Why do you work so hard? Why don't you stop?" And it's like, well, if you saw the emails that
Right.
I got, why would you stop?
Yeah.
You know?
My thought was that you're so clear on the vision, and that's so important, you know, to be clear on that, to take time. And it really just is about taking free time and just sitting with your feelings, with what you want, just
Yeah.
sitting and taking space. But I'm drawing this out because do that work, people. You know,
Yeah.
do the work to do the why, figure out why, because that will motivate you to take care of business, to show
Yeah.
up every day, you know, once you have a why. And when I find people who are really frustrated, clients, they don't have a vision.
Yeah.
That's why they're frustrated, because
Yeah.
they don't know where they're going.
Right.
They can't even make a decision where they want to go, even if it can change, and it can. But what's so cool also is that when we show up, we get surprised.
Mm-hmm.
You know, life gives us something that we might not have expected that is even better.
Yeah.
It's often the case when we
Yeah.
show up. It's so much fun.
Right. Yeah. And then, you know, obviously just showing up and doing what I've been doing over the last 4 years, obviously I've gotten very successful and I've built a brand. And of course, now you have people starting to reach out being like, well, how did you do this now?
Right. This is the
You
next
know?
stage.
So
This is so
you know,
cool.
Talking about other pivots. So now, you know, I got obviously I have lots of friends who are musicians and stuff. So they're seeing what I'm doing and the success that I'm having. And I'm getting a lot of people being like, how did you do it? How did you reach out? So now, you know, now I'm pivoting into another space, which is, you know, is coaching people online to use YouTube to, hey, fulfill your passion, share your story, and use it to build your brand and make money.
That's great.
You know?
So how long has that been going on for?
So that's actually a newer project that I just started this year.
Yeah. It seemed like it popped up
Yep.
recently.
Yeah. So this is something, it was something I always wanted to do. Again, that imposter syndrome. I wanted to make sure I had the credibility
Yeah.
to do it first.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Important to have some
You know,
of
because
that.
there's so many, there's so many gurus out there, you know, gurus. And, you know, I didn't want to be a person who's like, let me teach you how to start a successful YouTube channel. And I've got like 100 subscribers, you know? again, the angle I'm playing is, yes, I'm someone who doesn't maybe have 1 million subscribers yet, but I know for a fact that sometimes I make a lot more money than YouTubers who do have 1 million subscribers because they don't know how to make a business and they don't know how to monetize.
Yeah.
And I do. I work with a coach and she knows people who've been online, and she's like, I can confirm that you make way more money than some of the people who have 10 times as many subscribers as you have.
Yeah.
Because I know, just again, from my background of running a brick and mortar and being in the business space, I know how to make YouTube a business.
Can you share a few insights about that?
Yeah,
Like,
I think a lot of it's what we're talking about, you know.
But how are you making? I'm just curious about how you're making more. Like people are very curious. How do you make more money than people who have more followers?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people on YouTube who have no clear monetization path or monetization strategy. A lot of people.
So let's just slow down. What's monetization?
So
people who don't know.
For people who don't know, that's your method for how you're going to make money. And it doesn't just have to be one method. I have multiple ways that I make money on YouTube, but it is, what am I going to do to make, say your goal is to make, $4,000 a month. How do we get there? What are the avenues that we're going to use to get to that goal and hit that? Mm-hmm. So for me, the big thing that I did from the beginning was making sure that I had something to sell. I wanted to have a product. I mean, I was a guitar teacher. I knew I needed to have a product, and not everyone was going to want to buy it. I knew that because when you're on YouTube and you're giving stuff away for free, a lot of people, that's all they want. They just want the free stuff. But I knew there would be people who would want to pay. And I think that's something that people on YouTube, they focus on YouTube ads, Google ads, and you get paid, whenever you're on YouTube, there's ads that play before a video. Mm-hmm. Well, whoever the owner of that video is gets paid, a few cents or $1, whatever, depending on what the ad's about. You'll get paid an amount of money for YouTube to play that ad over your video. And people focus on that so much, but that's really like pennies compared to selling your own product.
Yep.
And I think people, they don't know how to do that properly. They don't understand sales. They don't understand a sales funnel, marketing. I mean, that's all business stuff. But when you put all that stuff together behind the power of YouTube, and YouTube's the number 2 search engine in the world, and it's owned by the number 1 search engine, which is Google. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty powerful tool. And the reason I love YouTube over any of the other social platforms is because, I can do a Facebook Live, I can do an Instagram post. In 24 hours, it's gone. It's dead. No one's really going to, unless like someone really went and scrolled back in like your feed, people probably aren't going to find that content 5 years from now. YouTube, you could do a video that's very good. I mean, very good to today's standards, and 10 years from now still have that video working for you.
Yep. Yeah, I see things pop up on my feed that are 7 years old.
There's people who have videos that are 10 years old that have like 27 million views on them because they're 10 years old and the content is still relevant and valuable. And YouTube's like, well, people are still watching it, so we're going to keep showing it.
Yeah.
What other platform can you do that on?
You mentioned, and this is a story I hear a lot from people, is that why would someone buy my course when they can get it for free on YouTube? What do you say to that?
So when I originally started, like I said, I didn't know much about YouTube. I had to learn as I went. Most of my content on YouTube was my course. I uploaded a lot of the stuff as free content on YouTube. Eventually, I changed that strategy a little bit. But I had people who would email me and just say, you've helped me so much that I felt I needed to buy the course just to say thank you. Or there's people who really want the organization. YouTube is really kind of like a hodgepodge of videos, and it's hard to really create. I mean, you can use playlists and stuff, but if you've ever used YouTube, it's like going down the wormhole. It's like you start watching like, how to fix my iPhone, and then all of a sudden you're watching like puppy video. Like you just go down the wormhole. So some people want that organization. Some people want the printouts. So I have PDFs. I have exercise. Where do I get those? Can I get printouts? Yeah, you got to buy the course. You want that? But it's the law of reciprocity. You help people get a win, they feel they owe you. And that's not going to happen I mean, I have millions of people who watch my videos now. I don't have millions of students that pay me, but there's enough of them that are like, wow, this video really helped me. If this one video helped me, if you buy the course, imagine what you could do.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell people, like YouTube, every single video is like a little webinar. It's like a little infomercial for what you do.
Yeah, I mean, that's important, again, to know that you really need to have a call to action. You need to have something to sell. Whereas performers especially, we're so used to being dancing monkeys, and we wave our wares in front of people and say, hey, hope that you come over and buy me, without any kind of call to action. You know what I mean? I mean, if that's your case, then at least have a link to hire you as a performer at the bottom of the thing. And if hopefully a tag at the end of the video saying, hey, if you like this video, you can hire me to come to your whatever and perform, do magic or sing or do in-home concerts. Or like, to not do that though is I mean,
well,
what a waste.
That's when going back to the question you asked me earlier, why are there people who have millions of followers that don't really make money on YouTube? Because they don't do that.
They don't do that.
Or they don't know to do that. They don't know how to do that. They're just like, well, if I put content, and trust me, they're probably making 10 or 20 grand a month on YouTube ads, and maybe they're happy with that. Right. But it's like, you could be making like 10 times that selling on a month selling courses. Yeah, they really can. And I don't know. I don't know why some don't. And I guess it depends on, the channel and the niche you're in, but everything is, people want to know how. Yeah, they do. And I guess that people do pay. And that's where the limiting belief is that people convince themselves, well, why would they? Well, they do. Yeah. They just do. They do. It's a information business is huge. Right. So it's a knowing versus doubt. Yeah. When you put up a video that people will, because I think what stops them from offering something is that they think people won't buy it. Yeah. Right. I mean, I do it in my videos. I've gotten really good at throwing like quick little 5-second infomercials in the middle. Like, hey guys, if you really like this topic, I have a whole course on this. I'll put a link in the description below. And if not, let's keep going. Exactly. And it's like 5 seconds real quick. I let them know, hey, if you want a really detailed step-by-step course, I have one. If you want the free stuff, keep going. How do you come up with content? In the beginning, I did the content that I knew everyone would need. So I call it like the foundational content. So for example, you being a magician, like there's certain things you need to know just to get started. Right. So it's all those, for guitar. How do I hold the guitar? How do I tune a guitar? All of the real basics. I'm like, no matter what anyone is doing, whether they're trying to shred, whether they're trying to fit, like they got to start here. Everyone needs this. So I started with the stuff that everyone needed. And then as I got people enrolled in the courses, I just started asking them, what do you guys want? Are you guys interested in finger picking? Yeah. We like, cool. I'll do a course on finger picking. All right, cool. I did that. What else do you guys need help with? Well, I hate bar chords. Okay, cool. I'm going to make a course on bar chords. And so I just started adding stuff based on what they wanted. You started asking. You read Ryan Levesque's book? I haven't. Called Ask? No. It's a great book. Okay. It's about surveys. It's about 1 or 2 question surveys to basically find out not only what your clients need and want and what their pain is, but the language they're using. Yeah. Right? So you're doing that. You did that naturally. You knew. You just ask people what they want. Yeah. You already spent money with me. If I give you more of what you want, you'll spend more money with me. And that's a great, if someone's thinking of doing a kind of a group or a coaching program, to do a free program for a month and then just use that as an opportunity to find out what they need. Yeah. And to build out your course based on what they're literally telling you. You have people in your group and then you can build out a real course that addresses their needs. Exactly. I always tell people, in my coaching course, I'll just say, like, start with a mini course. I mean, that's really all I started with. That's it. Something small. Don't go building like this giant piece de resistance because no one might even want it. And then now you just put all this time and effort in to find out that your market actually wants the complete opposite. So that's why I say start with the stuff everyone needs. Yep. Because you'll get people into the funnel and then you can expand from there. Or write something that's like for the Russell Brunson story. He did potato guns, how to make a potato gun. Was it a massive need? No. But he found that people were interested in it. And he found that he can actually work through the process of doing this and make a return on it. But that was how it started for him. You know what I mean? And then it just kept building on that. Right. So,
if he were to get in front of it, he would have never done. If he were to start to analyze this, what he was doing, he probably would have stopped immediately. If he were to like, oh my God, what am I doing? Potato guns. Where is this going to go for me? Like, what kind of future am I going to have? Well, he didn't. He just was like, I'm just going to do this thing and see what happens.
Right.
And then he learned from it and he grew. But just such a good story and such a good example of how to show up.
Yep.
And do something, it's kind of ridiculous almost. So what was your first course?
That was the foundational items,
foundational.
Like how to play
great.
basic chords, how to tune the guitar, hold it, some simple strumming
much
patterns. What did I sell? I think it was like $50. It was like $47.
See, that's like, to me, it's like a
start off.
no-brainer.
To start off, and then as I added more stuff to it, the price went up, and so. But I was just like, hey, for $50, let me see if I can get people in this funnel. Let me get some feedback. Because again, I recorded this entire course with my phone.
Yep.
In a crappy editing software with no lights.
Right.
I think I got a lapel mic for the course.
Right.
I think I did.
Right.
Or maybe, or half the course had a lapel mic, but half the course didn't.
Right.
It was like,
yeah.
So that's what I started with. Like I said, just a real simple course. Hey guys, let me give them a win. Show them that I can help them, and then figure out where they need to go from there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I just, well, I really like that idea of just, what does someone need to get started?
Yeah.
Like, that's a great, like, I'm actually going to start. That's given me a lot of fodder, to think about how I present a lot of my stuff, the basics of coaching, of life coaching.
Yeah.
There's so many basic skills.
There's the same 10 or 20 questions you get asked over and over again.
Right.
How do I get started?
Yep.
What if I don't know who my audience is? What if, there's those same questions that you get asked in your industry, and you know what they are because you get asked them all the time.
Yep.
What strings do I use for my guitar? And it's like, well, just tell them.
Yeah.
Answer the questions.
Yeah.
Answer the questions. People will like you because you answered their question. And there you go. Your mini course could be the top 10 questions, and it's 10 videos of you answering the 10 most common questions that get asked in your industry by people who are getting started. And that's it. It's a mini course, but it's valuable information that people want.
Yeah, it's based on
all in one spot
on the things that people really want to know, the most important things, and that's just an easy thing for people to grab onto. Go, oh yeah, I need that. I don't know how to do that.
Right.
Versus some kind of advanced course that has too many details, and most people are going to go like,
most people, to give you $50 isn't like a big deal.
No, it's a good price point.
If you want people to start spending, $1,000 with you, because I'm in the process of making a really in-depth YouTube course now. I have a mini course. It's like 47. That's like kind of like 10 videos, get you started.
Yep.
And, it starts building a list. These are kind of marketing things for you guys if you want to write pen and paper down. But, I'm collecting emails. I'm building a list on this mini course for $50. I mean, it's worth way more than that.
Yeah.
And I've had people say you could easily sell this for like $500 for how much you put in here. But it's like, hey, $50, get people introduced to you as a coach, as someone who is knowledgeable in that industry. And then guess what? It's much easier to get someone who's already paid you $50 to then go and spend $1,000 with you.
Yeah.
But, some people will. They'll just jump right in. They'll spend that $1,000 to buy a course that's going to help them make money or get them the end result they want.
Yeah.
But there's going to be those people out there. Everyone has different, selling languages. And so there's some people who need to experience you first.
Yeah.
So if you can allow them to experience you for either free, doing something like a lead magnet, you give something away, or like a really cheap mini course, which is what I recommend. I do have a free course too, but do a mini course that's just like low price, helps you get some money, no involvement from you. Cheap courses, you don't.
Yeah, so it's you wake up, you make money, you don't have to do anything for it. There's no group.
That's it. You record it,
coaching,
it's done.
Nothing.
There's no group coaching. Maybe you have like a free Facebook group that goes with it, but you let those people talk to themselves and you pop in every once in a while.
Yep.
But that's it. That you start building credibility with people. So now I've got like this list of people that when this big course is done, I can say, hey guys, well, if it's a couple hundred people, like, hey, if you really like that mini course, I'm going really into depth now on this full course.
Yeah.
It's a bigger price, but you just gave them so much value for $50.
Yeah.
That what you've done is if she will give me this much information for $50, what will she give me for $1,000?
is also the layering of different types of people are not as committed. So a lower priced offer, something that is for someone who hasn't really jumped in yet.
Yeah.
They're dabbling. I call them dabblers.
Yes.
But it's having a place for them to land.
Right.
Having an offer for those people. So the freebie is for people that are literally in the dream, like they're still kind of figuring out what it is. But then that lower priced offer between 50 and a couple of hundred is that people who are in the next stage of kind of like, I think I could do this.
Yeah.
Like, I think I could have this happen. And the next stage is the next $500 to $1,000 course, whereas they kind of are now in commitment mode.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, I'm actually in it.
Yeah.
And then the next one is hiring you,
Right.
whereas the full on in action, embracing their life and their
Right.
goals and and putting their money where their mouth is, skin in
Exactly.
the game, they're fully in.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice to have different tiers.
Yeah.
For people from where they're at.
Exactly. It's different tiers even for people with business, because there's some people who are getting started and they're like, they can't afford like $30,000 for a consulting pack.
Yeah, sure.
Crap. Well, you know what? I do have this course for $1,000,
that's
or
it.
we can do a payment plan or whatever.
Right.
And that's more accessible to you. Let's get you started. Let's get you making some money. Once you're making money, okay, then, yeah, if you want something a little bit more intimate, maybe it's a small mastermind and it's like $5,000 for, 90 days and a small group of people, and then they upgrade to that. And if they're doing well, then, hey, if they want the higher tier, I mean, it's all about having tiers, because there's some people who can afford to pay money. So like the person that I signed up the other day, she's got money, she's got a YouTube channel, but again, it's not monetized. She doesn't know how to monetize it. And she wants the fast track. So she is willing to pay.
She's fully in.
She's fully in.
Yeah.
But so she is willing to pay me top dollar to go in and figure this out and come up with a marketing strategy and go through her videos and be like, this works, this doesn't.
Yeah.
But that costs money because that's my time.
Yep.
And some people will buy that. And some people are like, I can't afford that, but I'm willing to do a lot of the work on my own. Cool. Well, then we'll start you down here. That's fine.
Yeah.
So you have to have that wide array of options, because like you said, there's dabblers and there are people who will always be dabblers. They will never get off your free products.
Yep.
Part of it is a doubt in themselves, and you might need to, through your free work, awaken that process and realize that, help them acknowledge that it's the doubt that's holding them back. And then maybe they'll become someone who will spend a little bit of money with you. But there'll be people who will never get off the free bandwagon. They'll stay on the free bandwagon and they will complain how they never get results, but they refuse to get off the free bandwagon. So there will be, that's the top of your funnel. Okay.
Yep. And keep in mind that those are clients we don't really want anyway.
Right.
We don't want, one of my missions is to only work with people that I love to work with. That's why I became a coach, because I get to choose who I want to work with. And if someone can't show up, so here's one of the things that I in my discovery or breakthrough session, when I have a new potential client, I actually call them pre-clients. When I have a pre-client, I'm very listening for where they place any blame or responsibility. If it's anything but on themselves, then they're not ready to work with me.
Yep.
So if they blame the environment, which is the easiest thing to blame, because the environment cannot talk back.
Right.
The next thing you do is blame others. Again, sometimes they don't talk back. And then you finally get to blaming yourself, and that's taking responsibility. I want to know that someone's taking responsibility. I cannot help someone if they're still in that zone of it's everyone else's. It's that lack. You know what I mean? Now, it doesn't mean that they have to be fully in that growth mindset to work with me, but I have to hear some ownership before we go in, and that's really important for me. And so in those calls, I'm really listening for that, and it lets me know whether they're my dream client or not.
Right.
That's all.
Yep.
And this is not for me. There's other people that work with that, and that's great. But end of the day, it's about who. It's about. I want to be happy with my life.
Right. Well, and that's why you have to have that mission, your vision, your values down pat before you get started.
Yeah.
Because that's going to tell you who you're going to work with and who you're not going to work with.
Absolutely. So one of my visions is is because I'm an escape artist and a coach. So one of my visions is about freedom, and I want my name, Jason Gardner, to be synonymous with freedom.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about these big goals. I mean, you want to change the world. You want to bring music and education and growth and healing to parts of the world of people that don't necessarily have access to that. That's a huge mission. Missions like this, they have to be big, but you got to also protect your vision about who you share it with. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
And often lovers and families are really concerned for you, and they don't know how to hold the space for you because they're worried, because they want you to be happy and safe, but they end up doing the opposite and convincing you or trying to convince you that you shouldn't do it.
Right.
Right. Oh my God. And it's so confusing because it's like, oh my, it's my wife or it's my family, my mother. And, my mom, I mean, up until recently, just keeps thinking I should get another job. Like, why don't you go get a day job? I'm like, Mom, if I have a little moment of struggle, like, slow down. Like, don't, I'm not jumping ship. I'm 51 years old. I'm not giving up. I'm working.
Yeah.
It's happening for me. I don't know where I was going with this. I often do that. I do.
Well, parents, they're there to protect you. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they're going off their life experiences, and I'm very fortunate that, entrepreneurship was something that was visible in my family. My grandfather had his own factory.
Yeah, me too. It was in my family.
He came over from Italy and did the whole immigrant spiel and all of that. So, I mean, I got to grow up with that. I didn't know what it was, though. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was until I got older. But you had a space
in your heart, though.
Right. So I think my family was a little bit more open to the fact that, like, hey, I'm going into business for myself.
Yeah.
I remember I was living with my dad when I started teaching, and I hadn't even told him that I quit my job. But I lived on the second floor of his house. He had a 2-family. He lived on the first floor. I rented the second floor apartment from him. And he just started noticing, like, more people coming in and out with, like, guitars. And, like, he's like, what are all these people, like, coming in and out of the house? And I said, I quit my job and I'm doing music. And he was like, what? And I said, no, it's okay. Don't worry. Like, I've already got clients. And he was just like, okay. But I mean, my dad's a contractor, so he works for himself. So he was just like, okay, it sounds like you did you're going about it the right way. And they just trusted me. And obviously it's grown into something that's, much bigger than I think anyone expected it was going to be, even myself. You know?
I think we were both very fortunate, and I think a lot of your clients and people that I've worked with too have a specific memory of being told that they cannot be creative.
Yeah.
They have a specific moment. They remember it clearly, like maybe they were playing air guitar on a tennis racket, and their mother said, that's stupid, don't do that, or whatever. And then they've internalized that as art is stupid or creativity is not viable.
Right.
So I hear that a lot. And you and I are very fortunate to have that. It does not mean that only the ones who are fortunate can get successful in this. It's just a barrier. We all have different barriers. We all have our own challenges. We could talk about that in a minute. You had some intense challenges. If we'd like to visit that in a minute. And I also wanted to just tag on, because I did space out on this, just the idea of that statements have to be bigger than yourself, and that's okay. I give everyone permission to create something way bigger, and that becomes it does everything. It's exciting, but it also makes you really, really vulnerable. You know what I mean? So that just know that's part of it. That's part of dreaming big. I mean, I always use Steve Jobs as an example of someone who dreamed really big, and how a thought of like, I want to create something that's kind of a device that people can hold on to, that's really kind of cool and gives them, ease and blah, 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 all these, beautiful things. It's just an idea. And there's no way he could have done that on his own, and he could have easily just said, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, especially at that time. He could have just stopped. And then instead he started sharing it with people that cared. And found his tribe, his community, you know what I mean, and people that would help him. And he had ups and downs throughout the whole thing. I mean, Jesus, but he was able to just stay with it, But a big dream is important. I guess that's my point.
Yeah,
is having a really big dream, and it's 100% okay.
Yeah,
it's what will drive you. In fact, if you're having a problem with motivation, you're not dreaming big enough. it really helps, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
to have that real big vision.
Absolutely.
You know, so one of my visions, just to share to people ideas, so I call them personal power statements, PPS. But one of my visions is around my children. I've got a 5 and an 8-year-old, and one of my visions is I want them to have peak experiences more exciting than video games. So when I ask myself, well, how do I do that? I ask myself, today, what can we do to make something more exciting than video games? So, well, I'll Google like cool ice cream shops in Boston, and I found one in Seaport that was from New York, these cool cones, and we went there, and they forgot about their video games for hours. We were just having ice cream and outside, and it didn't cost me much money. You know, eventually, yeah, I'd like to take them on a helicopter ride and do things like that, but I'm not going to wait to give them peak experiences better than video games. Just what do I do now? How do I make that happen now, despite maybe not having all of that cash? But it comes from that statement first. So the statement is like, here's the big statement I have, and then how? How is this going to show up for me? What can I do? And that's so back at you. You had this idea, and this is really the process, right? I want to change the world. I want to bring music to people. I want to heal them. I want to help. How? And then you started just showing up.
Yeah.
How? Just started showing up. And so let's just slow down for a second, and let's keep an eye. And I know you have some time limit, and I have some questions.
Sure.
I do these little questions for people. So we're cool. What do you got, about another half hour?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I would love to hear about some of your stories, some of your pains, because I think right now people are kind of going, yeah, here's a girl whose family supported her, like with her creativity, and she just kind of like her dad, like, you know, lived the place, was all cool with it, and it seems really easy. Like, wow, of course she's doing great, because her life was just brilliant. She had no pain, nothing. She's just cute and fun, and it all came together just like that. Who am I to think that I'm Lauren? Because she's amazing and she never had a problem. So let's educate them.
Sure. And, I think it's one of the harder topics for me to talk about, because I think it goes back to that mentality position of being someone who is a victim of their circumstances versus someone who works through and it becomes the victor. So we all have challenges in life, and I don't think my challenges are any more impressive or less impressive than someone else's. Everyone has those challenges that they're going through, and because some of your challenges are not the same as mine does not mean that you are any less than me. We all have things to work through. But I think one of the most important parts of my life that was a challenge at the time, even though when I was going through the whole process, was just something that was happening. When I was 16, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So basically had to come to terms with mortality at a young age, because, when the doctors called and told my mom, they were like, well, what could I tell her? Do I tell her everything's going to be okay? And they're like, well, you have to prepare for the possibility that everything might not. Like, you can't tell her she's going to be okay. So there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee on that she's going to live. So my mom and I had a conversation that night, and we cried, and my goal was just to kind of live life as normally as you possibly could when you're throwing up and you're sick and all these other things. But I think that people are like, oh, that was a hardship, but it's kind of a blessing and a curse, because I think it's where a lot of my persistence and determination came from. And I'm the kind of person that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And people are like, wow, you want to ride a motorcycle, and then you went and got your permit and you rode a motorcycle. You want to learn how to break dance, and all of a sudden, like, next week you're spinning on your head. And like, I was just one of those people, like, I want to learn drums. And you'd sign up for drum lessons. And so, again, I'm one of those people that, all right, here's a decision I'm making. How do I make it happen? Let's do it. And for a lot of people, that's a giant process. Whereas for me, it's not, because I realized the limitations on time. And I learned that lesson very young. And that was part of the reason why I left the pharmaceutical company, because, I'm sitting at the desk and I felt like I was wasting my life. And to have gone through what I went through at a young age, I said, what am I doing? Like, I'm not living. I'm actually just slowly dying. Like, this is worse than cancer. It's like I'm slowly dying. Even though I liked where I worked for a great company. I loved the people I work with. It just wasn't something that was like calling me.
Yep.
And I actually worked in cancer research, so it came full circle. So you're like, great, I'm doing these wonderful things. I'm trying to cure cancer. But I just felt like I could do so much more. And like I said, that was the big blessing in a curse. I mean, it's a curse because, I got to go back every year. And, even last year I had to go get a thyroid biopsy because they thought I might have thyroid cancer because that's one of the side effects of radiation. So, for the rest of my life, it's just like a ticking time bomb of like, is it going to come back? And if it does, when is it going to come back? So I live with that constantly in the back of my head, but it's a big motivator for why I do a lot of the stuff that I do. Because I do have that in the back of my mind that like, I might not live till I'm 80. I could be checking out at 40 something, So I'm like, I got a time limit here.
Right.
So, that was probably one of the most impactful moments of my life that a lot of people, could have come out of that very differently. These traumas affect everyone in different ways, but I decided I was going to use it more of like a superpower than let it take me down. So that's one, I guess, setback. That was a big setback. The next major setback was like a business setback that we had in 2014. So I had opened my first school in 2012. And this was also kind of one of those blessings and a curse because I learned a lot from this. But I had a car crash through my building. And at like 4 o'clock in the morning, so nobody was in there. But my landlord, who lived across the street, the alarm company called and like woke me up. And we had these, I think they were like the Christmas lights outside. So they kept hitting the glass and they would always set the alarm off. And I'm like, the alarm's going off. But then like a few minutes later, my landlord called and I was like, oh, something really happened. Because he lived right across the street. And he goes, there's a car in your building. And I said, what are you doing? I mean, I just woken up, so I'm just like not processing. And I lived right around the corner. I was like, okay. I was like, well, I'll be right over. So like I was in my PJs. I walked down. It was like a couple blocks away. And lo and behold, there's like this Honda or whatever it was, just this little car like in the building, like in my waiting room. And I was like, oh, crap. So I went home, got dressed, and I'm like, well, what do we do now? Because like we can't even use this building. This was a Friday. We didn't have classes, but we had classes on Saturday. I don't even remember if we canceled Saturday, but I called one of my teachers and I was like, he's like, what are we going to do? I was like, you're coming to the school. We're getting all the equipment. We're taking it out of the building. We're bringing it to my house and we're going to set up shop in my house, in my like apartment that I was living in.
Yeah.
And so I'm running a music school out of my apartment. We also like worked out of a church too. So it was my first experience running 2 locations at the same time, which is very stressful. It's probably one of the most stressful years of my life. Because shortly after that happened, my stepfather passed away of cancer, and I had another biopsy, so they were waiting to see if I had breast cancer. So it was like all of this happened in a month within the course of. So my stress levels were like off the chart, and that was also the year of snowpocalypse when we got like 6 feet of snow.
I remember that March.
So we're working in my home. It won't stop snowing. People have no place to park. I'm just like, I went to bed every night being like, or I woke up every morning being like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like, I need to give up. I'm giving up. And I went to bed every night going, okay, just one more day. Just one more day. And I did this for 8 months.
Yeah.
8 months straight until we finally were able to secure a new commercial space and me rebuild an entire school. So that was definitely one of the most trying times in my life, if you could imagine.
Right, yeah.
But fast forward now to, COVID, and people are like freaking out, and I'm just like, this is a breeze. I mean, again, the blessings and the curse of at that time, I only had 1 location. Yeah. So my entire financial stability depended on the success of that 1 location. If that was one of those moments where I was like, okay, what do I do? If I have to start from scratch, I'll have to go back to teaching in my house and then whatever I can rebuild. But I had all these employees now. So these people were I had people depending on me. It wasn't just me. I knew I would be fine. I didn't know if the people working for me would be fine. So that was the motivation that kept me pushing.
Yeah.
COVID happens, and I'm like, oh shit. But I'm like, now we have 3 locations. So if one's not doing so good, we had just opened our 3rd location like a few months before we had to shut down. So I'm like, okay, if one location's not doing good, these other 2 can kind of support. My financial burden was much more spread out. You know, I had real estate. I had the online stuff.
Yep.
So I was much more diversified in terms of the income streams that I had versus, 2014 when this originally happened. So I was in a much better space financially. So the stress levels of COVID were a little stressful in the beginning, but nearly non-existent compared to what I had in 2014, 2015. So it's like the learning experience.
Yeah, you kind of plateaued at this point. I mean, this COVID really wasn't.
Well, we always joke for the people who that are still in the company that remember the car crash, like, when something bad will happen in the company, I'll be like, well, listen, we don't have a car in our waiting room.
Right, exactly.
Like this is nothing compared to that.
And this is all this. We can just dub this whole topic as growing pains. It just is. It is. More money, more problems. It's just. If someone expects to grow their business, grow their life without any problems, pain, strife, challenges, I like the word challenge, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
It's just not realistic.
Well, and I could have sat there and been like, oh, this BITCH, she drove through my window.
Right.
I could have blamed her.
Right.
I could, this sucks. Like, I could have blamed so many things. And again, I think because of my character of determination and persistence, I just got right to work focusing on what's next.
Yeah. Well,
how do we figure this? How do we get through this? As opposed to being like, well, this isn't my fault. And, I deserve better than this. And I can't believe like nobody's willing to help me. And it's
really
like, I got to help myself.
There's Steve Chandler, who's a great coach, talks about owner versus victim.
Yeah.
One of his distinctions, kind of growth versus fixed, same thing. But I mean, really, you have this way of owning, of seeing the opportunity for everything that shows up in your life as being that's something on the path of success, of moving forward. It's just the way it is.
This has happened. I can't do anything. This has happened.
Yeah.
I'm going through this whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
And the faster I get over the shock of that this is happening, the faster I can move forward.
Yeah. I like the metaphor of a fish being in the water that he's swimming in.
Yeah.
This is the water we're swimming in. Car goes through your store. That's the water that you're swimming in right there.
Yeah.
You can't go to a different ocean. You can't switch realities.
Yeah.
I don't think. So at least not physically, in physical reality. So it just is.
Yeah.
So the question is then, so how do you own it? Like, where's the opportunity? Where's the opportunity from this? And if you start looking at things that way, opportunities start to show up.
Yeah.
It's amazing. How the universe conspires to make it happen. I forget where that quote came from, but it's...
Yeah, opportunities are everywhere. It just takes a little training to spot them.
That's it. Awareness, mindfulness, and slowing the fuck down in the moment. When shit happens, to slow it down, to look at what's in front of you in the moment.
Yeah.
And to take that moment to again, not blame, but own.
Yeah.
Right? It's so good.
Yeah. My wife always says, she's like, you always think very differently about money, just the way I see things and explain things about money. And she's just like, you just think very differently from a lot of people. And it's like, it's the observation of like, hey, we could see it this way or we could see it this way.
Right. So again, it's just such a great, that's why you're such a great coach, is because this abundance mindset.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's so much abundance out there, people.
Yeah. And you can lose it all and you can build it again.
It's unlimited. It's unlimited, it's unlimited. So I got a few questions I'd like to ask.
Sure.
I think we feel pretty complete. Before I go into that, anything that you want to touch upon, then we can kind of do some, right towards the end, we'll just quickly give them some links. And we're going to put everything in the description, all the Lauren's stuff, and any all that stuff's going to be in there.
Yeah.
But anything you want to add that's on your mind or heart?
Yeah. I get... For me, the biggest thing, that I'm moving into with the YouTube stuff, and I think is relevant to what we're talking about here, is that, I want to help people share their story. And YouTube is such a great platform for doing that. And, you guys are here listening to my story, and your life is not an exact replica of mine, just like mine's not an exact replica of yours, So everyone has different experiences that we can learn from. There's probably not a lot of people who've had a car crash through their business, but listening to the experience and how you can get through that is amazing. There's people who have weight loss journeys that I have never experienced. I mean, I've been pretty fit, but there's people who go through amazing weight loss transformations, and that story can inspire someone. So I always tell people, you have knowledge, you have skills, and if you're someone that's interested in sharing your story and sharing your knowledge and helping others, then, don't be afraid of getting out there and doing it and sharing that story. Because just like I said, with me going on YouTube and doing the guitar lessons, you never know who you're going to inspire. Mm-hmm. You never know whose life you're going to save.
Yep.
You just don't know. So I think that's the important thing. I want to just let people know that if you have a story to share, don't be afraid to get out there and share it and explore it. And don't be afraid to get on these platforms like YouTube and put yourself out there and be seen. Because the sooner people know about you, the sooner they can interact with you. And if you are a business person, the sooner they can start doing business with you.
Yeah, I mean, if you figure out how to monetize it, and with working with Lauren, or you can actually start to make money from that thing.
Yeah.
What's I going to say? I don't know. I forgot. It's okay. Oh, it was. It's funny because I don't edit, so I'll just have to let this pauses here. It'll come back. So let me ask you a few questions, Lauren, so we can close up with this. This is what are 3 things that make you smile?
3 things that make me smile. My wife. She has a great smile, so it's contagious.
Yeah.
So that makes me smile. In terms of music with students, it is those moments that you see students have an achievement. So, for example, this morning, I got a message from someone. He must be in his 80s. His wife is turning 81 next week, and he's like, I started with you. I had no experience. And he's like, it's my wife's birthday. She's going to be turning 81, and I'm so happy that I can play happy birthday for her. So
awesome.
Those are things that make me smile, because I know the other person is smiling.
Yeah.
Other things that make me smile.
One more.
My dog makes me smile.
Yeah. Cool.
I think you've seen pictures of her.
Yeah.
She's, I think just the simplicity of life, those simple things make me smile.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. And I remember what I was going to say. I'm glad I did. I always do remember. It's so crazy. It's just like there was a vet out there suffering from PSD who watched one of your videos or purchased the course and maybe didn't want to kill himself anymore. To be real clear, right? I mean, I want to impart to people that there are people out there that are waiting to relate to your story, and I can even further by saying you're being selfish by not getting out there and sharing your story, because there's people waiting to be healed by your story, to be helped, to be served. So hopefully for some of you that will help. Don't be selfish. Just get out of your head. Be imperfect, fail forwards, and make the damn video on your phone and just post it. You don't know what the outcome is.
Yeah.
But what we're telling you is that there's people out there that you can change their lives. You can help them.
Yeah, that's exactly what my coach told me. She's like, if you don't do it, you're being selfish.
Yeah, I love that. I love that reframe of being selfish. You know what I mean? Like, who are you to deny people your story?
Yeah. Okay,
more questions. So what are your non-negotiable daily routines? So, what do you do every day so let me give you an example. Brushing your teeth would be a non-negotiable. Some people meditate every day. Just give me a couple of, what comes to mind? Non-negotiables.
I literally work every day. No, but I mean, in terms of like non-negotiables, every day I do something work-related that pushes me forward. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if I'm working on recording a new course, all right, by the end of this week, I'm going to record a whole new module. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to achieve this goal. So those are my non-negotiables, that every day I'm doing something work-related that's getting me forward.
Yep. Great.
Other I mean, I don't have too many like.
I know you work out.
Non-negotiables.
I know you work out.
I
Is
do
that
work
a daily?
out.
Is it daily
That's
for you
not
or no?
a daily thing, but it's something that. So I play racquetball, and that's kind of like one of my non-negotiables that I want to go to racquetball. One, because it's a stress relief thing.
Yeah.
Two, it's a socialization thing.
Yeah.
Three, it gets me out of the house.
Yeah.
So and we play outside, so it's weather dependent.
Sure.
But I've made a commitment that on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, I'm going to go play racquetball, and that's my commitment. Part of it to health, but part of it to be like I can't be working 24/7.
Great.
So that's kind of a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
And another non-negotiable is finances. I'm very strict budgeting wise.
Good. Great.
So it's to the point where like my wife's like, we always tease her because she like always loves curtains. I don't know what it is with wives and curtains, but
Not really sure.
she's like, I don't know. I just like moldings. I like blinds and moldings. I was never big on curtains growing up. I never had curtains until I got married. No. So she'll be like, "Want to get Can I get new curtains?" And not like she has to ask me, but she's confirming like, "Is it okay if I put curtains up in this room?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to spend money on curtains and blah blah blah." But she's like, "Yeah, but you just spent like $10,000 to go to this like business event, but I can't buy like $50 in curtains." So
I've heard this before.
I'm very so in terms of non-negotiable, I'm very purposeful about what I do with my money.
Yeah.
And I want
Intentional,
and I want to make sure that one, it's either being invested in a way that's going to promote growth or promote cash flow, an investment that will produce money. I try not to waste money on too many like flimmy things.
Yeah.
Although I did buy the sports car a couple years ago, but
Good stuff.
but it wasn't. I didn't go for the Porsche. I went for the Camaro. I stuck with the American Muscle.
All right. Camaro's good. Though. Nice car.
But I am. I don't spend money on myself almost to like a fault.
Yeah.
But that's just one of my. My grandfather was Depression era. He grew up during the Great Depression, and he came over to America. So I think a lot of that is instilled in me to be very intentional with what you do with your money and not to waste it. Don't just throw it out the door on stupid stuff because, you can have good times, you can have bad times.
That's a great trait to have.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Wow. Okay, here's a couple of fun ones. What's your favorite sandwich?
My favorite sandwich. I really love a good tuna melt.
Yeah, I'm big into tuna.
Yeah.
That's actually my favorite.
Yeah. Big
Cool.
on tuna melts.
What's your favorite smell?
I don't know. I think smells are weird, but my favorite smell. So if you've ever smelled a dog's paws, dogs have a very distinct smell to their paws, and it reminds me of being a kid. We had a German Shepherd growing up.
I want to smell a dog's paw today.
It's. I don't know why it's my favorite smell. I think it's just because it reminds me of being a kid. We had this German Shepherd.
It would smell like shit, but
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. I mean, if they just ran around like it's shit, it probably will.
that's my fear in the city here.
But no, it has like this very distinct fur smell. And I remember when I was a kid, we had this German Shepherd, and she used to sleep on this top stoop on our stairs. And when I was younger, like I used to sleep with the dog. So it reminds me that was the smell.
Yeah.
So that is my favorite smell, the smell of a dog's paws.
And I love how smells and memories are so connected.
Yeah.
It's the best way to get into memory is your smell. What's your least favorite smell?
Least favorite smell? That's hard. I mean, I would say like a really, really bad fart.
Yeah, farts. Yeah, that's good. Yep.
After someone's eaten like Mexican or something.
Yeah, okay, that's enough. Thank you. Okay, I got two more questions for you.
Two more questions.
What's the most used app on your phone?
Most used app on my phone, probably Facebook.
Facebook, cool. And think about this one here. Describe the rest of your life in 5 words.
The rest of my life. 5 words?
Yeah.
You ain't seen nothing yet?
I
got to count it out.
That's great. All right. So how can people get in touch with Lauren Bateman?
Yes. So my email, it's info@laurenbateman.com. You can send an email there if you're keen on email. But, if you're interested in the YouTube thing, getting into that, it's my website is fulltimeyoutubers.com. So if you're interested in YouTube stuff, but feel free to shoot me an email. I'm on Facebook, like I said, Instagram. Just search for Lauren Bateman. You'll find me. I've got, I think I have a silver background with a guitar. So I love chatting with people, so feel free to shoot me a message on Instagram. I'm pretty active on that's probably the number 2 app in my phone is Instagram, so cool. I'm on there.
Great. That's so great. All right. Well, Lauren, this has been super fun. Great to catch up with you, and it's super inspiring. My vision for you folks listening to this is that you become inspired as well and do something big dreams and goals, big, exciting life. With that said, thank you very much, Lauren, and everyone, and we'll speak to you later.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.